We're here at Exhibitor Live 2023 in Louisville, producing Event Marketing Redefined. I'm with the host of Event Marketing Redefined, CEO of Rockway Exhibits and Events, ringleader of a pack of animals in the trade show industry that really know how to party, really know what they're doing, and are super customer obsessed and do some really great work. Matt, why'd you decide to bring your team to Exhibitor Live?
Man, we are stoked to be here, number one. Two is really this idea of talking the talk, walking the walk, right? That's big for us. Like, we preach this sort of intentional, strategic approach to event marketing. And, you know, we want to case study our own journey to be able to give it to our clients, give it to event marketers and say, hey, like, this was the finished result. This was our engagement. This was our intention. This was our strategy. So that's like number one for us being here. Number two is really to talk to event marketers. That's what our whole show is about, right? It's about talking to event marketers and getting an understanding of their challenges, their struggles. What do they need? What are they seeking? What are they here to learn? Just want to know what they're all about, right? You want to get to know, you know, prospective clients, future clients, potential clients, whatever you want to call them. Like, what are they thinking? What do they need? What kind of conversation do they want?
Engage with the market.
That's why we're here.
Well, let's hit that number one piece, man. This is my first time really being behind the scenes of a very deliberate trade show execution by people who know what the heck they're doing when it comes to trade shows. So the first thing is this idea of you came up with this boutique hotel concept for
Rockway.
the booth. Yeah. Talk me through kind of like the strategy that you're testing right now and how you came up with the overall strategy.
So, all right. So I'm a big believer in the fact that when you go to a trade show, right? Like, look around. I mean, we have a competitor right next to us. So that's one of the beauties of a trade show. Is that it's like an old school market where, you know, you're going toe to toe, face to face. People are around. So what that screams to me from a marketing, from a sales standpoint, is you have to position yourself. Right? You have to position yourself in your market. And I believe that goes back to story, that goes back to narrative, okay, for your clients. And then again, what's the problem that you solve and all that's got to mesh, right? So for us, essentially, we landed on this concept of Hotel Rockway, like welcome to Hotel Rockway. And Hotel Rockway is a boutique hotel because we believe one of the things that we offer is intentional design and personalized service, much like a boutique hotel. We also believe like boutique hotels tend to be a little bit smaller, more personalized, but you're still getting this high level experience. So we feel like we've positioned ourselves that way. And that is where we are in this market, where we're not the biggest event trade show marketing partner on the block. We're not the smallest, but we're damn good at what we do. And we feel like we are, and we feel like we have intention and we're strategic. So we felt like the whole boutique theme would really fly.
Yeah. So that's the theme. It's the idea of somebody walking in here, feeling like they're walking into like a hip kind of like well-kept secret that is going to outperform expectations and feel really good and adaptable. So you built this whole thing out. Looks like a boutique hotel.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it's sweet.
Yeah.
Plus a podcast space here. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, so on the hotel thing, I just think about this. Like, I think one of the things too is that when you go to a hotel, when you go to a boutique style hotel, it's different from a normal hotel. It just is. Like, you can go to the nicest Hilton, like one of their nice ones, and it's nice and beautiful, but you know kind of what you're in. It's standard-ish. When you go to this like upscale, bougie boutique that's themed, right? It's themed. It has an experience. It's driven by some kind of story about the hotel, which I think is super cool. Again, going back into us.
That's true.
Podcast. Man, the podcast is engagement. I want to sit here with people that are doing the work every day in the industry to talk about the industry and sit with potential customers, people who are event marketers, people that are in the trenches working their trade shows, working their events, looking for solutions and have a conversation, man. I think it's an engaging, fun way to be at a conference, you know? I mean, it should be fun.
We'll see.
We're at a conference. Yeah, come on.
We'll see.
Let's go.
So that's one of the things that I've heard you talking about a lot, like this intentional design, intentional execution at trade shows. You talked about you wanna talk to other marketers. The podcast is part of that. You want to talk to event marketers. What are the conversations that you either expect to see here or that you really, really what is the subjects that you
Yeah.
want people speaking about here that you think should be addressed?
So, look, if it's somebody that's in the industry, like later on we have Jason Weddle, right? My buddy, he's the CEO of Hamilton. I mean, we're going to have an industry conversation. I want to know what his clients are saying. I want to know what direction they're seeing. I want to know what trends. I want to know where he sees problems in the future for event marketing. I mean, events have changed drastically since post-pandemic. A ton. There's so much happening, right? Mm-hmm. But like all things that change, it's good. There's shifts. There's movement.
Yep.
Now, when you have somebody on the show that is an event marketer for a company, I think the conversation needs to be about like, what are their needs? Right? Where are their struggles? What problems are they looking to be solved for them that maybe me or nobody else in this room or us are solving for?
Yeah.
What worries them? What keeps them up at night?
What do you expect to hear in those conversations?
I think I have a little bit of like a narrative or like a story in my mind that I think it is, which can be a little dangerous, right? Like, I think kind of what you and I have talked about, which is I think that a lot of marketers, they're a marketer, they're hired to be some form of general marketing, demand gen, content marketing, whatever you want to call it. And then someday, some executive or VP walks in the office and says, hey, you're now handling our trade show program. So they're not true event marketers. They don't have that knowledge, that strategic skill just yet. Yep. So I think that's something that I would love to test and say, hey, did this happen to you? Did this happen to you?
Yeah.
So then now they're forced into figuring this out. It's like, okay, you're managing a $500,000 budget for trade shows or $1 million or plus, but you've never done it before. So what are your KPIs? What are your measurables? What are your, what's your objectives that you're looking to hit? I expect a lot of people to be like, well, no, I was kind of thrown in the fire. Yeah. So that's what I'm expecting. But what are they going to say? I think a lot of people will talk about good communication, right? It's a lot of moving parts to get to a trade show. Yep. People they want to understand every step of the way. It's like getting to a trade show is like going cross country with your family on a trip. Like somebody's got to know all the stops, where we're going. We're hitting this house. This is where the restaurant is. This is, we're going to stop and go see this. You don't just drive aimlessly. Yeah. So it's like people, they like having that upfront communication where they can feel comfortable about where they're getting to at the end result.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll also open up conversation for how do you get buy-in when you see an opportunity for an event, or if you have a great idea for, if your company has been displaying the same trade show booth for the last 10 years and you're just showing up trying to, show your competitors or you're not out of business, maybe there's an opportunity to talk about how you get buy-in in evolving that narrative internally. Right now, you mentioned communication on the execution side.
Yep.
I wonder if there's going to be an opportunity to talk to event marketers about how do they go from just being in execution mode to being in identify opportunity mode and get buy-in and then go do that. That'd be a real interesting conversation.
So I think that's tricky because I think the minority is you have like super high level event marketers that, they typically work for very big companies. Like, good example, I did the podcast a week ago, recorded an episode with Tavar James. He works for a company called Riskified. They're a big company. They're a global company. Yeah. They're very invested in event marketing. And when you start having a conversation with him about intention, strategy, story, narrative, KPIs, measurement, campaigns, he doesn't miss a beat. Yeah. Because that's what he's doing. Yeah. Now, I think that is the minority. Yeah. I truly do. I think the majority is you have a section of people that are, they're just, first of all, they're doing a lot of work. Yep. So these event marketer people, like I said, they were marketers, thrusted into this. They have a whole nother job. This is just being put on their plate. Yep. So they're just, how you introduce intention and strategy and story and narrative and going through all the motions and how much work it takes to get to a trade show or have campaigns run at trade shows is an interesting thing that I think, we're trying to push and have the conversation of like, maybe not all of it's for you. Yeah. Not the whole menu, not the whole buffet, but like, tell us which part of the buffet you're interested in. Yeah. And we can have a better conversation about the ingredients.
It's like a step ladder on like Maslow's hierarchy of needs as an event marketer, right? Like at first you got to be able to like survive, and then you got to be able to execute, and then you can plan some cool stuff, and then you can become a legend inside your company. And you're trying to like, you're trying to like draw out that path.
And nobody talks about the difficult process for these people. Yeah. That they do get thrusted into it. Yeah. And that they're like, oh, dude, you're managing let's just say you have a $150,000 build for one show. It's out in Vegas or something like that. There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's a lot, I mean, to bring all this together. I mean, we do this every day. I know every nook and cranny details that goes into it.
Yeah.
There are so many moving parts.
Yeah.
And to feel like that's all on you. And I mean, just think about like your CEO who you barely know maybe, right?
Yeah.
Is just going to pop up at the event and like, oh, you know, if the booth doesn't look good, they're like, oh,
it's like
this is
it's like Gladiator, right?
This,
like,
this is Mary or Dave. They're this was on them, and you know, they're like, oh, it sucks. They get put in a bad spot, and that's not really what you want, right?
Yeah.
So you want to find how can we introduce people to another level to say, hey, this is what you're currently doing. I understand why you're doing it.
Yeah.
I understand you're probably in a bad spot.
Yeah.
How can we help you take that next level? What's your comfort level? It's not all of it. You can't do it all at once.
Yep.
It's slowly.
Yeah.
And I think that's having case studies and showing and, you know, getting them to talk to one of our clients and saying, hey, like, this is the conversation we had with them. This is just bare minimum. Our booth came out better.
Yeah.
And we were more set up for success.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And just up the ladder.
Listen, man, listening to you on this show throughout the year, I've kind of learned what you're poking at. Yesterday, inside our little event that we hosted, I tested some of those theses and 100%, right? Like every event marketer there was like, yes, please.
That's me.
You know, they're dying for it. So I think that that's going to be cool. You also said you want to get into industry conversations.
Yes.
Real quick, in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you expect to be trends that people are going to be like talking about here, or where do you think all this stuff is headed that people need to talk about?
There's a few, but I think it's interesting. The traditional conference trade show, you have an organizer, you have people paying, like you have an organizer bringing people, you have a third party bringing people together. So the spends have gotten high.
Yeah.
It's expensive to sponsor. It's expensive to get space. It's expensive to build a booth. It's expensive to travel. It's expensive to ship. Drayage is like in frickin' fairy tale land in terms of cost. Drayage, electric, material, I mean, it's crazy. So the costs have gone up, and I think so now bigger companies are saying to themselves, okay, so we're going to go spend $300,000 to be at this conference. And pretty much the value that we're being told that we're given is essentially that they're bringing everybody there. So they're going to congregate everybody. Well, why wouldn't I spend that $300,000 and go congregate people myself? Right? Because nowadays, you don't need the annual conference to get in touch with Debbie or Dave. I'm going to keep going with Dave's here. With Debbie or Dave, you just don't, because you can find them on Zoom Info. You can you can find them on Seamless AI, LinkedIn Navigator. 20 years ago, you couldn't. 10 years ago, you couldn't. So you needed, you were like, oh, all these people are going to be there. I don't even know who these people are. They're ghosts. Well, now they're not. So I think that is something that's interesting. And what I think is, some conferences will rise to the occasion, and they will start to step up their value. They'll find ways to reduce costs, increase value, maximize experience, right? They're going to have to. And then some brands will get really, really crafty and start doing, like this guy next to us here with the mobile trade show trailer.
That's super smart.
It's dope. It's awesome. You know, people are doing mobile tours. They're going to where their customer is. So I see some shifts, but end of the day, in-person events aren't going anywhere. People love to be face-to-face.
Yeah. I love this conversation, right? Like, number one, the mobile trailer. I think you had somebody on the show recently that like outfitted an 18-wheeler and went to hospitals all across America and crushed.
Debbie Kemp.
Yeah,
Debbie Kemp
super
crushes.
Smart. But
she does have a mobile tour,
But the overall thing is like the decentralization of audience building, right?
Yes.
Like if that's the value prop, then, you know, that the value of just that being the value prop is going away, which means that people will start to build their own audiences that are smaller, more targeted. They get to own it themselves. And also people that are known for the audience and the congregation, like this Exhibitor Live event, it's what they're doing. They're talking about experience it live, right? Like it's like, what's the differentiator to make it better, make it more valuable, right? Whether it's more expensive or less expensive, you just got to outstack the value based on the cost, right?
100%. I mean,
Interested to hear about that.
It does come back to what is the experience? Like, what is that attendee, the sponsor? Look, it's got to get better for everybody. It just does. It's got to get better for everybody. And I think at the end of the day, when people get together, one of the things that's, I think, was like 2015 to 19, like everybody was fat and happy. Events were just events. I think the whole thing just got lazy.
Correct.
Everybody went just because they went, because they always go. So companies spend the money just because they always spent the money. Events were like, everybody's going to show up, so we'll just run it the same way. But essentially, like, I think what's going to happen is no matter what, like when you go to events, so they were fat and happy. Okay? Everybody was doing it, sending people, spending money, doing everything. Now what's happening is people are going to be more intentional. Why are they going? What's the money they're spending? Who's going? What was purpose for them going? And when people go, they want it to be more intimate. They want to get more out of it, and they want experience. We can go into buyers. Millennials and Gen Zs are going to be the buyers for the next 10 years, right? What do they want? They want experience. Don't take me out of the house, or don't, to do something that I can do from my house.
That I can see on a YouTube video.
So give me the experience at home. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I can do the YouTube tutorial anytime I want.
Yeah, correct. It can't just be content from the stage that's bringing people together. All right, man. You've done a ton of this stuff. Right? Coolest thing you've ever been a part of, man. Like what's kind of either the crowning moment of like trade show success in your career or like coolest idea you've ever brought to life?
Sitting in it.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. Like 100%,
okay.
dude.
Yeah.
Because to see my team buy in to what I have been, like, I've always been, like, interested in this industry and curious. And, like, I kind of have, like, that, you know me, I'm super optimistic, but I'm also super skeptical, right? It's, like, very Jersey of me.
Optimistic,
but essentially, like, there's so many things in the industry that have bothered me over the years. So I've just started poking and prying and being like, well, what's this? Why is it like this? Why shouldn't it be better? Wait, why aren't we asking this question? Why? And then once I started asking questions and getting some answers and having conversations, I start to formulate a direction for us and what we're doing. But I'm super proud of my team, just the trust that they have, going through this process, building this booth together, going through more the intention, the strategy, the pre-show marketing, running a pop-up event last night. You know what I mean? Just doing all the things, everything that we preach, we are practicing, and I am super proud of that because it means we're not full of shit.
It's cool, man. It's cool. It's obviously, as a booth building company, to get to eat your own dog food at its highest level has got to feel special. But I never thought about the idea of the founder-led company that really has a vision, that sees the market a different way, that is out there evangelizing something of like how we can do this thing better or different. The trade show being kind of like the personalization of that, right? Like it can be you're just showing up to a trade show, or you can take this intentional approach to deliver some kind of like personification of the experience of the thing that you see in the world. I imagine that having that very well done as a founder or CEO has got to be super, super gratifying, whether or not you're a trade show builder or not, right? Like if you can really just like display the ethos of your company in front of a whole bunch of people, it's got to feel awesome. And you get that chance right now.
I think we're going to try, right? We're going to try to have these conversations. We're going to try to push our thoughts, and we're not there yet, right? Like I don't claim, we're claiming to have an answer to anything. I think we have a good philosophy for what we want to do for our clients. I think we have the right intention. And I think the most important key piece is that like if someone was working with me and be like, what's the differentiator with you and blah, blah, this and talking about this, it's like, you know what? We're diggers, man. Like we're digging, we're searching, we're looking, we are trying to find how can we be better for you all the time? How can we, what does this mean? Like we don't just accept the status quo. We're searching. You know what I mean? And I feel like as long as you're constantly on that path, that journey of searching to do things better, to be better, to go get results, man, I think that's so important. That's kind of what it's all about.
Curiosity, man.
That's what it's all about, man.
As an observer from far and a fan of you guys' work, and somebody that thinks about positioning and marketing.
You're a positioner.
I think what's interesting about the way that you explained this thing and how it landed yesterday is that you have this awareness of the role of the event marketer and the position that they're in, and you're really, really focused on getting them promoted, right? Like this idea of just like having you feel happier in your job because you have more clarity and you can measure it and now you're going to be able to be successful. I think it's really, really interesting how you're doing this. And in that light,
thanks, man.
What would you say is the best piece of advice you have to give to someone like yesterday we met somebody that just became an event marketer, right? Like what advice did you give her or would you give her to set yourself up for success in this career?
Like I think it took time to get there, right?
Yeah.
It took my frustration, then being like, man, we're just a commoditized company.
Yeah.
Like I just got exhausted of just building a meaningless trade show booth, honestly. And I hate even saying that, but we did. And I was like, it looks nice. It's cool. Oh, great design. But like, what does it do?
Yeah.
Kind of, it's a little meaningless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, it just didn't get me excited anymore. And I was like 2015. I started really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And once I started digging, then you're like, oh, our clients, they don't know what they're doing. But it's like, no, that's not it.
That's not it.
You know, it's easy to start to be like, oh, they don't want this, they don't want that. It's like, well. And then you start having conversations. You start reflecting on some of the problems. These are larger problems, things going on. And that's where we've sort of landed to kind of where we are now. But the advice that I would give is why. Ask the questions. Ask the why. You know, I always use the phrase you have that like it's a path to promotion town, right? So if like you're an event marketer or you're a marketer and you get handed a trade show program, go to the smartest person there, your CMO, your VP, your CEO, anybody, salesperson, anybody who's smart you can get your hands on, it's been there and say, hey, why did we go to this conference? Do we get results? Are we trying to drive leads? Is it for brand awareness? Is it to do demos? Are we trying to bridge an education gap? What are we doing here? Like what specifically? Ask why. Why? And I think as you start to do that, you start to uncover things with like intentionality and saying like, wow, we really don't have a purpose here.
Yeah.
Is this show even good? Is our target client there? Are they not there?
Are they not there?
You know what I mean? Is this worthwhile? Do we see a return? You'll spin heads. Yeah. And if you have good leadership's gonna be like, damn.
Who's this kid asking the tough questions?
Who's this person? Who is this?
Yeah.
Who's this in marketing? Who's it? You know what I mean? Like they're going to want to know. And I think that's what I would say. Push for results, push for things that are meaningful, that matter.
Yeah.
Don't just go through the motions.
Love it. Love it. We're about to get started here. Show floor hasn't even opened up, man.
It opens in 20.
How you feeling? You excited?
I'm just going to talk my shit for 3 days. That's it, man. Just going to talk it.
Okay.
Ask questions and talk my shit.
This is episode 0 of the Thought Leaders of Exhibitor Live. Sorry that we went with that title. Thought Leaders of Exhibitor Live.
Episode negative
Event
1.
Marketing Redefined. Exhibitor Live 2023. Stay tuned for some of the best ideas in the trade show industry from some of the brightest people that are here.
A big shift.
Talking to one of the brightest guys I know
in our industry. Thanks, buddy. Now.